All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Summer 2023 Indie Book Blitz. I am so excited you're here. My name is Katherine D. Graham. I'm a USA Today bestselling dark fantasy author. And joining me over the next 3 days, we have over 15 panels. I believe it tallied up to being about 50 different authors across those panels who are coming to chat with us about themselves, their books. Some are going to be brave and read excerpts from their books out loud. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And kicking us off, no pressure, anybody. We've got Jill and Mike and Tyreen and Hannah and Nathan. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks.
So you guys are kicking us off as the epic fantasy panel. We've got a couple different epic fantasy panels, but I'm super excited. Some of you have been on the channel before. Some of you, this is your first time, but we have a lot of new viewers. So for those who don't know you, why don't we go around and just talk a little bit about who you are and what kind of epic fantasy you write, maybe the main book that you're sort of known for at this point.
Do you want me to start?
Take it away, Jill.
Okay. I'm Jill Chard, obviously. I come from a small town outside Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And my first book I've ever written is called The Relic Thief, and that's what's in SPFBO. I've labeled myself as a hope punk fantasy, but it's epic fantasy.
Yeah, and SPFBO, for those who don't know, not everybody on these panels are going to be SPFBO, as we affectionately call it, authors, but that's the self-published fantasy blog off that's coordinated by Mark Lawrence. Every year, this is the 9th year, so some of these authors may be faces that you saw from the last big round of lives we did from SPFBO. So good luck to everybody who's joining and doing a SPFBO contest this year. Mike, you're in SPFBO too this year.
I am. I am the author of 3 books. The first book, Becoming a Druid, is in SPFBO. My character is basically a knucklehead, and he makes lots of dumb decisions. And things that he does in book 1 will come back to be an all-out battle between 2 kingdoms by the end of the series.
And I've actually read Mike's first book, Becoming a Druid, and it was one of my 5-star reads for last year. I highly recommend it, and I think this is a good place to just plug that if you want to follow any of these authors or grab any of their books, I have all of their links in the description box too, if you're watching on YouTube. Tyreen, welcome back. You're one of my panel veterans. It is so good to have you.
It's good to be here. It's great to be here. So I write a lot of different things, but I started out with fantasy, and I kind of put myself for this panel. I'm not really sure if you call something this short an epic fantasy book, but it does have different kingdoms involved in it. My main character, Clara, thinks that she's just going to become a sword master and defend her country, but she ends up being a champion for many nations in the world that she lives in. So it was a lot of fun to write, and it's the first book of a trilogy. And then I've written a prequel serialization on Kindnovella. So I'm still playing in that world a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, that actually, I'm going to pause, and then I will get back to Hannah and Nathan in a second, but I'm curious to know, based on what you just said, Tyreen, whether you feel like epic fantasy is defined by the length, or is it the story type that makes it epic?
I am going to go with the fact that I think it's the story type. I think when you get multiple kingdoms or nations involved, then it becomes an epic because you're talking about all these different things. Maybe that's actually kingdom fantasy and not epic fantasy. But I also think if you write trilogies and you write nested, like intertwined trilogies, you end up with epic length eventually. So that's kind of where I'm going.
All right. Hannah, welcome back. I know you've been on one of my lives before too. It's always good to have you on the channel. Why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Thank you. It's great to be back. I'm a German author, actually. Born and bred German, but I'm bilingual in English. I love English. I write in English. And this is my latest epic series. I write. I call it feel good fantasy. Sorry, I can't help it. I need to have books and stories that have winners, that have good endings. So I relate to Jill's Hope Punk really, because I want uplifting stories. And yeah, I mangle my heroes. I hurt them, but they earn some happiness in the end. And this series is, I call it The Winds of Destiny and the Pillars of the Empire. It's meant to be 9 books. I'm right now struggling to get number 5 out. So it's epic in scope, and it's epic also in the cast, because I have a different main character for every book, but they kind of all play in the same world. They run into each other, and they all fight the same enemy. An evil kingdom, well, not a kingdom, an empire run by nasty people. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Cool.
Writing and publishing. And I missed Spiffbo. Unfortunately, I was offline in the decisive time when I should have entered, but
Nobody knew it was going to go from filling up in 9 hours last year to filling up in under an hour this year, to be fair. Yes, and my hat's off to you. I know we said in the last live a little bit how hard it is to be bilingual and write, English is really hard. Just saying. For English,
I love it. It's fun. It's fun for me. I just absolutely adore English.
yes. Nathan, welcome back. You're another Spiffbo author this year, so first time really representing Spiffbo.
Totally. Yeah, I'm Nathan Hartle, and my book in Spiffbo is called Summoning a Sacrifice. It's the first book of an epic fantasy series, and I barely made it in. I was one of the last, I think. But my book is about a group of characters who go on a quest for their missing goddess who can save their people from destruction. And the story takes place over 4 books, and it was a lot of fun to write and a long time writing it.
Well, awesome. I'm so glad you're all here again. One of the things that I love doing in these panels is seeing how you got started on your indie journey specifically. Sort of like, how long have you been writing and what made you decide to go this route versus traditional? And I say versus traditional. We've had people on panels who started out traditional and left traditional to come to indie, and some who are both. They've got some that are small press, some that are traditional, some that are indie. So I sort of want to hear, your story, how you got going with this. Hannah, you want to kick us off on this one?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I started writing in about 2000. I started out writing German fantasy because I thought that was the way to go. I got a few short stories placed with small press through an author group. We had a German forum. It's more or less dead now. I even found an agent and had an agent contract for about 5-6 years, which got me literally nothing. Except it blocked me from writing in English. And when we mutually decided to end the contract, I was finally free to start writing in English. And I was already getting some short stories placed with magazines, and eventually had one that came back with rejection after rejection. And I thought, well, read David Gorgon's book, decided I could do it, found a company that formatted everything for me, made the cover, started out in 2013 with self-publishing, got a Dragon series off the ground, and eventually went completely solo. I stopped working with that company. And since then, I've been just, doing everything myself, buying covers, formatting. I love Atticus because it's made formatting so much easier. And that's it. I've never looked back.
So you've been like in all the stages, except in reverse of what I think some indie authors are wanting to do. They start out indie and then they go, submit some magazines, and then they get an agent and then they go trad.
Yeah, that's the other way around. I'm not really tempted to get an agent again or to start, working with publishers, because I like being in control.
Yeah. And here we are, and you've got great quality books. And if you're watching and you've never heard of an indie author, that is essentially what an indie author is. We coordinate everything. We even if we don't do everything, not all of us can design our own covers like myself, but we find cover designers and do it all. So, yes, Mike, your day job has nothing to do with writing,
Nope.
quite interestingly. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this indie journey?
Okay, so I started writing in 2017, and I had never dreamt of being a writer. And I got called. A friend told me, "Can you come to this author signing?" And I've read a couple thousand books probably, and I said, "I've never been to an author signing. I will absolutely go." Didn't ask any questions. And I got there, and the woman is writing a young adult love triangle with 3 17-year-olds. The girl is the protagonist, and I just did not care anything about. And I was trapped. And then I looked around and saw that I was the only male present. Being a middle-aged white person who lives alone in a quiet neighborhood, I'm like, oh my God. So when they said, okay, everyone sit down for questions, I'm like, if I sit in the back, everyone's going to be, was he staring at my 12-year-old daughter the whole time? So I was like, no, can't do that. So I go to the front row, and I'm like, at least they know I'm not, well, they think I'm weird, but I'm not creepy. So, that's the best I can do. And the woman talked about her book. And again, I had no interest, but I politely, sat there. And then she asked for questions, and no one asked any questions. And I said, well, how did you publish the book? How do you do this? Oh, KU, that exists. KDP, you can publish your own. All about the process, which you should probably never do to an author who's spent all this time writing a book. But I had nothing else, and no one else was asking any questions, so it was dead air. And so I bought her book, which it was perfectly fine, the writing, it just nothing that interests me. And I said, you know what, I could do this. And I was like, could I? And so I started, and that's the whole thing. I was not a writer from 3 years old like you normally hear. I was, this one event just made me take a hard right turn, and I've been writing since.
So we have nameless indie author who did a signing to thank for Mike's amazing Druid fantasy books, which we can now read thanks to KU. Yes. Awesome. Nathan, how about you? How did you get started?
Yeah, well, I was one of those have wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, and I finally sort of took it seriously starting around 2011. That's when I started on the book that I just published. So it took me a little while to get around to finishing it. I think I ended up going indie because as I learned more about traditional publishing and about how much time it takes to go through the process, just through finding an agent and then finding a publisher, and just years can pass in the process. And I guess I just feel I'm just too impatient for that. And that combined with the creative control that being an indie author offers is those things combined basically made it the best option. There's still some attraction to traditional publishing, but I think, being indie is the right thing for me for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jill, this is my first time chatting with you, so I don't know anything about your story yet. I'm really excited to hear how you got started.
I started I'm an English teacher. I wasn't supposed to be. I was supposed to be an art teacher. So they just kind of sometimes throw you into teaching something you're not used to. And through that process, I just fell in love with writing. So I spent a lot of time doing little short stories for my students, and I taught drama as well, which was quite a shock. So I did scripts, and I rewrote Romeo and Juliet and A Midsummer Night's Dream for my my 7th graders, so they could actually say the words.
Yeah, no pressure having to re-inspire a classic.
It was really fun. It was really, really fun. And then I ended up having foot surgery, which put me on the couch for a while, and I got really bored of Netflix. And I had an idea. I really loved watching parkour videos. I was obsessed. with parkour, and I love the idea of sneaking around and stealing. And I'd also gone on a trip to Italy and seen Venice and got really fascinated by Italy and medieval Italy, that sort of thing. And it all kind of came together, and it just started writing. And it just blossomed, and I got addicted to it. And I loved, like, I'd say to my partner when he came home, I was like, I love, it's so frustrating and so hard, but I love this. I love it so much. And, you know, like Nathan, I just got really impatient. I sent, when I finally had my draft done, I sent it to one publisher who didn't require an agent. And I got the, not right now, thanks, letter back. I was like, okay. And went right straight into self-publishing because, again, too impatient to wait for the whole, 2 years. I had to go back to work. I don't have time, So, but yeah, that's how I got started with indie publishing. Ideally, if I'm going to continue working as a teacher, I don't have a lot of time to self-promote and stuff like that. So ideally, it'd be great to have an agent at some point, but who knows? We'll see where this goes. This is all really new and thrilling, and
or at least like a PR person.
That's the other thing. If I make any kind of money from my book, I'm going to funnel it back into like people who do things better than me.
And that actually leads to one of the questions that I have on the list for today, but we'll come back to it after Katherine tells us a little bit about how you got into the indie publishing side.
Well, like Nathan, I've been writing since I was a kid, but I spent a lot of time daydreaming about writing and writing in my notebooks and not really putting it out there in the world. So I started sending short stories and poems out in college, and I had some published and a lot of rejections, actually. So I had a small press novella publication, but I didn't actually enjoy that process. And I'm not going to name names, but I ended up indie publishing partly because I was impatient and partly because I loved my characters so much and I loved my story so much. I had a little bit of feedback of, well, we want you to change like half the book. And I thought, oh, nope. I love my characters. I know where I want them to go. And, in the trilogy I was writing. And so I went indie, and I really like it. I like being in control, like Hannah said, of all the details. Even if I have someone else do cover art, I still get to have, a back and forth with them about what it looks like. So I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think something that most of the books that are on this panel that I've started reading, it gives us control to put characters that maybe aren't necessarily mainstream in a much deserved spotlight that they might not have gotten if we had gone traditional. And that's something that really stands out in your work, especially Katherine, is going, these are not your typical epic fantasy cast of characters, but they deserve limelight too. And it's done very well. So I'm glad you didn't change them.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thanks.
My pleasure. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to something Jill said. And I just sort of want your opinions, mostly for the authors who are watching or the readers who don't know about the indie side as much. Pro tip, the best way you can help your favorite indie author is by reading their books and recommending their books. But tied into that, how many books have you published, and how many books do you think it would take for you to get to where this indie author journey is like a full-time thing? And I'm going to let you guys just jump in, whoever wants to take it first.
I have one book published. And I can't even begin to tell you how long it would take or how many books sold or whatever. But it's kind of just at some point you have to take a leap of faith, right? And I'm waiting for that kick in the ass over the cliff.
So I've published 3 books. I don't think I'll ever take that leap of faith, but I have a decent job, and again, I'm single, so I get to save all my money for me. So I'm going to be retiring in 2027. So by default, I will be doing it full time then. I don't know that it'll be making me money, but as long as I'm not losing money hand over fist, I'll be happy with that.
That's cool. I've just got one published. As far as making a full-time income, it's really hard to say. I think it very case by case, it seems, from what I can tell from other authors. I've heard that a lot of the authors who are full-time publish a few books a year at least. So I'll see if I can get up to that rate. I don't. I hope I can. I think I can figure that out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I saw a survey that said it was really high percentage of people want to write a book, and only a very small percent actually ever even write one, much less, publish one and put their soul on display for the world. So congratulations to everybody here, because you've already taken the big first step. Oh, Tyrene.
Yes, she's been making noise, and she just crawled up my pant leg to sit on my lap. So, yeah. I wasn't intending to have a kitten distraction here, but yeah, here she is.
Well, the kitten has volunteered you to be the next to answer.
Yeah, so I actually have 15 books out, but some are not. Thank you. Some are nonfiction, some are short story collections and poetry collections with things that I already had previously published that have come back to me, and I've put them out in book format. And then I realized that I think I kind of need to stick with one or two genres and just kind of run down that path most of the time. So as far as kind of building up an audience, so that's part of the reason I do have a sci-fi series that I'm slowly working on, but I've come back to my fantasy world because I've had more a little more audience or readership retention from book to book to book, and to the prequel serialization on Kindle. So I think for me, I'm hoping that once I get 12 or 15 books just in that world, that's where I'll see a little bit more. I don't know if it's quite quit the day job type thing, but at least more so of an income for life and things. So I'm thankful that I remember the first year I knew this other indie author, and we would joke around about how we had burrito money or coffee money from our books. And that was like the whole first year. It was like, yay, I could buy a coffee. And I'm like, ooh, I could buy a coffee every day. And then months are better. So it just depends on how it goes. So but yeah, I feel like it just takes time to make gains. And I think there's that dream ideal of the big, huge book package with the movie deal. But we all know that that's a pretty small percentage of people who gets that. So I'm going to keep teaching and tutoring and writing and doing what I do. So, and hopefully it'll build.
Yeah. One of the panels we had around New Year's, we had A.R. Whitham on, and he's an Emmy award-winning screenwriter, in addition to being an indie author. And one of the things that I remember asking him was that a lot of authors want to see their books on the big screen. And he was like, don't, because they're going to change your book so much. And I think that's, and I know it was partially in jest, but, seriously, here we are indie mostly because we want to retain content control of our works. And yet we're willing to be like, yeah, we're doing this into a movie. I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone showed up and was like, hey, I want to make the Violet Twisted Fate into a movie, I'd be like, okay, but I'd have to say the movie separate. I've got to keep that separate in my head. How about you, Hannah? You've been writing a very long time, like you said, 10 years now. So
23
congratulations.
Years. Yeah. Well, I have about 20. I lost count. I have 20 plus books published. most of them novel size, a couple of short stories, some tie in with my worlds. I can confidently say I can pay my electricity bill every month with my books, which was pointed out to me the other day, fulfills Stephen King's definition of being a writer, a successful writer, which is kind of fun. But yeah, this is not going to be my main income. What I'm hoping for, I have 9 more years in my day job, which is boring and numbers. So 9 more years, and I will need additional income because my pension is not going to be anyway good. And I'm really hoping that, with 9 years, I can get out another additional 5 series or something and possibly have enough income to sort of keep my standard of living that I have right now. That would be a major goal. Anything beyond that would be awesome. And I mean, I think every one of us is hoping for the breakthrough series. This is like we hit a series that really finds a great market, and I've been jumping genres too much to actually, have making a name for myself in a specific place. So I just keep plugging along. I mean, I have 3 or 4 unpublished series that I'm kind of spinning around. And I hit burnout earlier this year, so I'm kind of gathering back my strength and working on getting book 5 out. I have book 6 basically written. I got stalled out in book 7. I know what's happening in the final 2 books, but I'm going to switch. I have a urban shifter series that's not steamy because my characters refuse to be steamy. They did not want to be part.
I remember us talking about that on the last live.
We did, and that is my best-selling series so far. So I'm back. I have ideas for 2 more books in that series, which will hopefully give me sort of like some guaranteed sales. Give me a longer tail in the series. Yeah. So that's the plan, to switch gears after I get book 5 out, and then sort of like go back and forth between both series and build them up. It's hard to get read through. I had a little spike just now making the first book free, which is, I'm wide. I don't have my books in Kindle Unlimited. I have them everywhere. And I will mention that I'm doing really well on Google, which is a surprise. But I'm actually selling most on Google Play Store, surprisingly.
Cool.
But yeah, I didn't expect that. But that's why I have Lost Leaders. The first in my series is always free now. I mean, I just made the first one. This one just went free. And I got a nice little spike in sales from it, or downloads. After posting about that on Mastodon, I find that Mastodon is the most effective and efficient social medium for me to use. So those are 2 points of experience that I have that might be interesting to you and to all the indie authors listening. You can support, and readers, you can support your indie authors by, using whatever store feels good to you. In fact, if you buy low price books, 99-cent books, anything outside of Amazon is better for us. But yeah. So I don't know what happened, but I lost the main window. But anyway, that's it. I'm at 20 plus books. I'm still not making enough money to live on it.
Ooh. That's actually our reminder that it is Wheel of Random Questions time. We're doing something brand new on this Blitz that I have never done before. Hey, Steve. Steve says that's actually really helpful to know about Mastodon, Hannah. So on these Blitz lives, we have the wheel. And the wheel is chock full of little fun questions about your main character, your antagonist, and your world. And I have no idea what it's going to pull up. But once it pulls up, anybody who wants to jump in first can take it. We're going to spin it 1 time, and that's going to be the question we answer for the panel. So everybody ready for a spin?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Assuming I can get it to spin without lagging. Crossing my fingers. The best part of being the first panel is being the your antagonist wakes up in the hero's body and question mark.
Wow. Unfortunately, my antagonist would probably just kill a lot of people if she woke up in the hero's body. If she could use Clara's sword, which I'm not sure she could, but yeah, she would probably just kill a lot of people before she was found out. That's unfortunately, she's just that mean. Anyway, yeah.
Is this a question for everybody?
Yes, this is going to be the question for everybody.
All right. So, if my antagonist woke up in my hero's body, he would probably become far, far more powerful than he is currently. And he would maybe enact his plans a little faster than he can. I can't give any more away than that.
Right.
Because my book is mostly a mystery. It's so if I say too much, then that gives away the plot.
Yeah. But yes, more powerful by waking up in the
he has one out of three powers he can wield, and he would have more.
That's
more
awesome.
Effective. Yeah.
So, go ahead, Nathan.
Oh, sorry. If my villain woke up in my hero's body, he would, after being very confused, probably be really happy and feel that it was a miracle, because he's a bishop in a powerful church, but he's very jealous of the hero because she has contact with spiritual beings that he doesn't, and envies her place for that reason. So I think he would probably find a way to explain it to himself as something that was just meant to be.
Yeah.
So my villain is chasing my protagonist to get a magical item back so that he can start his way into world domination. So if he wakes up as my hero, he gets the magical item, he can destroy Druid holy sites, and the whole world turns dark.
But he wouldn't get to keep your main character's memories, though. So if it's hidden, he's still going to have to find it.
Yeah, well, it would be bad news.
I don't have a specific antagonist, but if one of those fighting or working against my hero, who is called South, that person waking up in South's body would be delighted to have her magic, wouldn't exactly know what to do, but yeah, I'd probably head back to the Empire and try to become a powerful person there. Mm-hmm. Not without risks, because people with that magic are routinely controlled and killed in the Empire. So depending on how smart that person is, they might just pretend to be who they wake up as.
Yes, love all these answers. And in The Vow That Twisted Fate, which is my epic fantasy, I write some dark, but Vow, it has a little dark, but it's more epic than it is dark. For those who have read it, you know that the twist at the end is like, oh, well, this makes this a very easy question and a hard question at the same time. I think my villain, Madra, would probably be happy to not be in the dimension that all the evil things got banished to in the beginning of the book anymore, and her be in the good, peaceful dimension where there's nothing evil and nothing going on. But she might get bored pretty quick, because I think she wishes she was on the other side, but she's more of an action type character. I can just see her getting really bored waking up in the hero's body. But yeah, so congratulations, you survived the very first wheel of the Summer Blitz. That leads us sort of into our last question, which is, what is coming up for the rest of 2023? Are you going to be doing any public events? What have you got scheduled to publish, if anything, or are you going to be writing and editing? What does this year look like?
Well, I'll jump in if it's okay.
Yeah,
I have decided I had a serialization of the prequel for Champion in the Darkness, and I decided to hold on to it until I get the whole trilogy prequel finished. And so I'm not going to publish it until next year. And it's kind of eating at me. I'm like, oh, I could just put it out there now. And then I'm like, no. I told myself I was going to wait. I'm trying to take advantage of something another author friend told me about, that supposedly, I don't know if this is true, that the algorithms sometimes work a little bit better on Amazon and some of the other sites if you release your books like 1 or 2 months apart. I have no idea if it's true or not. Haven't done it, but I thought I would try it. So that's why I'm kind of holding on to stuff. So
I have tried it, and it does help.
Okay. Cool.
But it's also very hectic, and I would say if anybody's been following my series about Lord's Gambit's release and failure at the beginning of this year, when you set up your pre-orders, upload the files right then. So that way, before you even announce it, you know if you have an issue with the file. And you don't end up where I was, where my file got corrupted, and I now have to rewrite the entire book 3. So book 1 came out in January, book 2 came out in February, book 3 was supposed to come out in March, and the file was corrupted.
I'm so sorry.
And my backup were
That's
corrupted.
awful. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I think it's great. It's just you have to have it there.
Yeah.
I'm I'll wait
Thanks,
for the question. I'm going to be working on book 2 of my series and for the rest of 2023 for sure. But I also have like a YA pirate historical fiction I'm working on, and I also have a literary fiction I need to do my final edit on. I had sent that off to what do you call those? The people that tear it apart.
The developmental editors like me.
Thank you.
Or...
Yes. And she completely ripped it apart. So I have to kind of spend some time with it again. And so I have my hands full for the next little while. That's for sure.
We do it out of love, though.
Oh no, it was fantastic. No, I don't regret it at all. It was fantastic. I love that she ripped it apart. Yeah.
I feel you though, because when I got Val back from the developmental editor, even though I am one, the rejection cut so deep the first time that I quit writing for a year. I didn't touch books for a year, and then I came back.
I didn't. It didn't bother me at all, but it was 18 pages double-sided, so she was thorough.
Yes, but stronger books, good reviews.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Mike, Hannah, Nathan, what's going on the rest of 2023?
So I am writing the 4th book in my series, which is book 2.5, because I have the worst numbering system ever. I started, it's 4 novellas. I wrote the first one in December, and I've just been struggling, but I got 3 finished. I'm 6,000 words into the 4th and final novella. So the first draft is always what takes forever for me. After that, I love the editing process because find all the mistakes. It just makes my book better. I actually get happy when I get to edit back, because I know I'm not a great writer. I didn't start writing until a few years ago. So, let's make it as good as we can. But the first draft is a slog. Other than that, a small press approached me and asked me to write a novella for their anthology, which is inspired by Jules Verne. That's the whole prompt. So I wrote one, and I said, I kind of like this. I had another idea, though. I might do that. And they said, well, do them both. Send them both to us. So maybe I'll get 2. Maybe I get 1. Hopefully I get at least 1. But if nothing else, it's fun to dip my toe into science fiction away from fantasy and kind of cleanse the palate, which is probably why I'm able to write again in fantasy. So I took the break, and I go to Comic-Cons galore. I've gone to 12 so far this year. My biggest one left is Cincinnati Comic-Con in September. And I'm doing Stepping Out in Blacksburg, Virginia, the first week in August. So those are my last 2 big events live, and then writing. And I have no self-control. As soon as the book was done, I am, hit publish. I don't do pre-orders. I'm just so excited to get it out because I'm like, I got it. I did it. So I have no restraint. But that's what's up for me.
You want to know what press?
It's Golden Fleece Press. They're out of DC. I've seen them at a couple Comic-Cons, and I was like, I've always self-published, and then I end up getting the book and like, oh, there's a typo. I'm like, I want to have, like professionals be like, if it's on you, if it's that way. I mean, I do proofreaders and everything else, but typos. I wish I had that tenacity to make it through all those rounds of editing.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, I'm this close to getting Earth Splits done. The cover's there, the print wrap cover is there. I've done first round of editing. I'm not supposed to say this, but I edit myself.
That's okay. Lots of people edit themselves, especially with like Autocrit and Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid.
And so I really think I'll get Earth Splits out in the next few weeks. It's just hard to get the last bits written. I kind of thought I was further along than I was. And later this year, kind of depending on how well things go, I will have a new wolf book out. It will be called A Wolf's Hacker. And there's a story about one wolf shifter who doesn't really want to be one, going out to help his World of Warcraft buddy who gets into trouble. And it starts out with IRC chat lines, which was so much fun to write. So I have an epic fantasy book coming out this year, and I have a wolf book coming out. I don't do cons. I mean, there are some in Germany which don't really make a lot of sense when I'm writing in English. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to come out here right now. I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm Asperger's, and I don't do crowds really well. I love panels like these. These are great. I'm in my comfortable home. I don't do panels, lots of people, noise. I can't really handle that very well. It gives me headaches instantly, and I see no point in torturing myself. So I'll put out books. I'll go on channels. I'll be in a release party next weekend. But that's basically it.
Awesome, Nathan. What you got going?
Yeah, I've got a couple more books coming out this year. The books 2 and 3 in my series. The second one's coming out July 31st. And then I'm currently revising, or at least just starting to revise book 3. And that one should come out in November. If not, maybe sooner. I'd like to release them faster than one every 4 months, but we'll see. And then I'm probably going to try to figure out how to make paperbacks, because I haven't done that at all yet. And that's like feels like a whole nother world to learn how to do that. So I've been saving that until I feel like I have a little space time-wise. But yeah, book 2 in, I guess, a little more than a month now. That's exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm just going to offer, connect with me, and I'll show you with the paperback stuff, because I've been doing that.
Oh, thank you very much.
So
I love this community so much. This is what
I'm paying it forward. People have been helping me.
Yeah, and if for formatting, I know there's a cost to it because I definitely paid for it, but Atticus is you can use it to format for paperback, and I don't know if maybe you all know about it already, but I found it helpful because when I tried to format my books in Word, I end up having my more tech savvy husband do it, and then anyway, I struggled with it, so I use Atticus now.
Yes.
There's some pretty good YouTube videos on how to do it in Word too. It's there's so much help online, and that's part of the community too, right?
Yeah.
Like so many generous people.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't imagine having gotten this far without, the help of strangers,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's actually an entire playlist, because I've only been doing this July 9th will be the 2-year anniversary of my debut epic fantasy.
You are amazing, Katherine. It's cool seeing your trajectory. It's awesome.
It's the community. Again, it's the people who, like Hannah said, reached down and have been really helpful. And several of those authors have joined. If you would like to support my channel, you can go to the Indie Author Behind the Scenes playlist and subscribe and watch through. But I have a lot of guests that come on, from editors to PR reps to book box people who work with indie authors to people who've gotten their books in brick and mortar bookstores who are indie authors. And they share tools and tips. So if you're thinking of dipping your toe into this, or you've been doing it a while and just want a little help, maybe one of the guests on that playlist has something that you might find helpful. And for readers, thank you all so much for tuning in and meeting this epic fantasy panel. As I said, this is going to be a packed weekend full of panels and authors. So definitely subscribe, because we're going to be doing the next one in about 45 minutes. If my time is right, we're going to be doing another epic fantasy panel, and it's going to be a full panel. I'm very excited. You can follow Mike and Jill and Nathan and Hannah and Tyreen at the links in the description box and check out their books. As I said earlier, the best way you can support indie authors is definitely by giving their books a read, giving their books a review, and sharing their books with your friends. And I think most of the people on this panel have either a free book or a 99-cent book or a book on KU that makes their books more accessible, I think. If you guys do, feel free to let them know real quick, just in a word or two, if you have a free book for like a newsletter or something.
And readers, don't feel shy about contacting authors. We love hearing from you, getting emails. It's just so helpful and motivating to get feedback from you guys.
Yeah, it's huge.
This is free.
It's huge. Yeah, this is actually free on KU, and I have a sci-fi book for 99 cents. So there's easy ways to read my stuff, and and what Hannah said, I got a Facebook message that actually helped me finish my prequel, because they wanted to know, so what happened to this character? And I was like, oh yes, I am writing that book. Thank you. Like, it was awesome. So that's huge.
Yeah, I've made the Relic Thief 99 cents until August for the Spiffbo. Yeah.
Yes.
So this weekend, actually, all 3 of my books are free on Amazon, the ebook, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And
well, shoot, I spent 99 cents on it. And I'm loving it.
Thank you so much. So, and I actually just upped the price. Becoming a Druid is going to be a whopping $2.99. So, you better get it this weekend, because it might break you otherwise.
That's another thing I love about being indie. We have control over the prices, and we can actually make different decisions than trad publishers or others. We can really look at the market. We can think of the reader. I know I love pricing fairly low, so to give people a chance to enjoy my books.
I've got my Summoning and Sacrifices on sale for 99 cents through early August for Spiffbo and for the release of my next book. And Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Amazon. I'm also wide, so it's all the places. And then I also have a free story available on my website for a newsletter sign up.
And
cool.
Mine is 99 cents too this weekend, because this cover is going away on July 6th. It's getting a second edition with extended scenes at the end and a brand new cover at the thing. So it's going to be 99 cents through July, like Jill's. And then I've lowered the paperback with this cover as low as Amazon will let me, which means, I mean, if you want it, I think it was like $10 or less. Right now. But what I love is that there are 6 authors on this panel, including myself. If you're a brand new reader, you can grab every single one of our books for under $5 total this weekend. So that's a steal.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining and helping us kick off and braving the wheel.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks,
Yay.
Katherine.
Thank you,
you.
Catherine.
Thank you. It
Thank
was
Thank you
great
so
fun.
much.
And best of luck to the Spiffbo entrance. Can't
Yeah,
wait to
thank
touch
you.
base later this year and hopefully hear some semifinalist news.
Mhm.
Hope so.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see.
Bye.